So this is actually not a talk about C++ at all. This is a talk about running. I got into running in February 2020. That was 2.5 years ago now. So I was coming from a place where I had never done any physical exercise at all in my life before. I was quite overweight, had a few health issues, and this was one of the things I was kind of trying out to kind of try and address that. So I did like a little loop around my local park where I live in London, and it was kind of exhausting but also fun. And then a few weeks later, the pandemic started. And in London, it was actually quite strict. So for months and months, you basically couldn't leave the house unless you buy food or you got to do exercise on your own once a day. And at the time, I was living on my own in a tiny little one-bedroom flat with no garden or balcony or anything. So any excuse to leave that house was very good. So I started running every day. And that was really great. So by the time lockdown was over, I was in a really good physical shape. And then lockdown was over, so stuff started opening up again. And then you could actually, again, run with other people. And you could even run in a race, like a half marathon or a marathon. So I actually went ahead and ran a half marathon. And that was actually quite a lot of fun. That was me after having run my very first race. And so the other thing that actually came back after the lockdown ended, as we know, is conferences, right? We're here. Conferences are back. In-person conferences are back. But then I had a problem because my job requires me to go to a lot of conferences. And when you're training for a marathon, you kind of have to run 4 or 5 times a week. And it doesn't matter if you're at a conference, you kind of have to figure out a way to run anyway. So I was like, how am I going to approach that? So I kind of have to find a way to like run maybe before the talks, kind of in the morning. And one thing I really like is I like running in nature. So I really like if there's, for example, a river or a canal or like a lake, something, lots of forest around, right? So I want to do that. But also I kind of have to, like the running route has to kind of start and end at the conference venue, right? Because there's no time in the morning before the talks to like travel anywhere else, right? So it's kind of a bit tricky. And so I started to just go ahead and try and do that at the conferences where I went and see what happened. So these are the 5 conferences, like in-person conferences I've been to so far since since COVID. And I've kind of tried to like do that and keep running at like each one of those 5. And I just want to talk a little bit about how that went. First one was CppCon last year, September. That was the first conference I went to after the lockdowns. Great conference, great talks. Amazing, but the venue is this resort, which is kind of in Denver. Like, there's like a few like motorways, highways, I think you call them in American English, kind of around it, and some industrial stuff. And this is what it looks like from the highway. So it's just this resort, and there's like nothing there. And so I did not have a great experience. Like, pretty much the only place you can run is on the treadmill in the resort gym. So that was a bit sad. Or you can like run around the building, but anyway, if anybody has like advice, like something I didn't notice, like I want to hear about it, but not a great experience. Next one was Audio Developer Conference in London. That's obviously my home turf. This is where I currently live. I love running on kind of along waterways, which we have a lot of in London. So this is kind of where the conference venue is. So it's going to be like this bit. And that's kind of the Regent's Canal, and then you go up the Lee River. That's like actually really, really pretty. Like London has these like pockets of green in the middle of the city. It's really, really lovely. So this is kind of my favorite running route around there. The only bit is like, this is kind of what it looks like on the map. The only bit is this, so you have to run for about a mile like through the financial district, like the city of London, which is not great. But then you get to the canal, and then it's like really beautiful. So the third one was ACCU, also in the UK, in a town called Bristol. That's where I went in April. That was actually fantastic. That conference is taking place at the Bristol Marriott Hotel City Centre. I'm sure some of you have been there. And right next to it is a park. It's called Castle Park. It's quite pretty. You can run like a loop around the park. It's like 1 kilometer if you want to do just a short one. But you're also right by the River Avon. So if you want to do a longer run, you can just keep running kind of along the river. You can keep running west, and you keep running and running and running, and keep running and running and running. This is kind of the run that I did when I was there. If you run just a little bit further, you're on the Atlantic Ocean. So that's actually pretty great. And it's lovely, like beautiful nature. You're like outside of the city. It's this river. It's this like beautiful landscape. It's fantastic. It's gorgeous. Like if you're ever there, I really recommend you. You can even go just for a walk or for a cycle ride or whatever. It's great. Right, and then it was C++ Now, and that is really my favorite one so far. This was absolutely fantastic. So C++ Now, if anybody has been there, if you haven't, you have to do that at least once in your life. It's at the Aspen Meadows Resort. It's in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. You have this like beautiful mountain landscape around you. And something that Google Maps doesn't know is that if you, so you kind of have to like find kind of things out on my own a lot of the time. Like kind of behind the like reception building, there's like a trail which is not on the map. And it kind of takes you down and then across the river, and then it's like just half a mile kind of across the river, and then you're on the Rio Grande Trail and you turn left, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's like 30 or 40 miles long, and it takes you through like, it's quite a famous hiking trail actually. It's at altitude, which is really brutal if you're not used to that, but it's stunningly beautiful. And those pictures are just some stuff from Google because I didn't have my phone on me, but like it doesn't do it justice. It's like even better than that. It's absolutely amazing. So this was probably like the best place I've ever ran at. That was absolutely fantastic. That was this May. And now I'm here in Toronto. And I Googled actually yesterday, and it turns out there is a marathon here. There is also a 10K. It's called like a waterfront run something. It's like along the waterfront. So I went actually this morning to check it out. This is how you get there from where we are right now. And again, you have to like run through like a few blocks of like the kind of ugly big city stuff, but then you're kind of on the waterfront, which is actually really quite nice. And there was something that I noticed this morning that I've never seen before. There was a lane for runners. I've never seen this before. So actually, I think it's a cycle lane, but if you're a runner, you can also use it. I've never seen this before. This is great. So yeah, this is, I like it. This is awesome. And so yeah, this is, I think, a good way if you're like at a conference, not just doing the networking and doing the talks and doing like the stuff that you always do if you're at a conference, if you're frequently going to conferences, but also kind of getting to know the area, you know, getting to know a little bit of what nature is around there or like the city that you're in or whatever. So I've done that now at 5 conferences. I have a pretty busy travel calendar for the rest of the year. This is kind of where I'm planning to go until the end of the year. There's quite a few good places there. There's Norway, Israel, there's like Hawaii. So I'm really excited what I'm going to discover there. If anybody has been to any of those places and has recommendations, please talk to me. If anyone just wants to talk about running, please come and find me. And yeah, that's all I have.